Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Get It Out. I'm gonna try my best to not sleep through this. I'm exhausted. It is 5:13 in the afternoon, and around this time I'm just completely dead. So that's what I'm feeling right now, dead. This week, well, at least personally, I've been running errands left and right, just non-stop, going everywhere. I haven't gone on a break. I've been working all week. I've been doing shit. I've been planning, having friends, and I'm exhausted. I just want the week to be over. It's Saturday for me, so. But out of this entire week, I had one day where I was just no plans, no work. It was just, I had nothing on the to-do list that day. And so I was bored out of my mind. I to the point that sometimes being on social media is just not doing it for you. I didn't have the energy to do really anything. And so I'm like, you know what? I do have energy for this. I'm going to start planning my 18th birthday. And I usually just make mood boards on Pinterest and all that stuff. And so I started planning the 18th birthday. And my 18th birthday is in a little over 2 months, so it's coming up soon. I'm really excited for that. And so I'm about to turn 18, and then as I'm making this mood board, I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna turn 18. And there's this, a lot of people just wait their whole life. I waited my entire life to turn 18. 18 is my favorite number. I just waited for so long to turn 18. And there's just so much symbolism behind turning 18. And from the legal perspective, 18, the law considers you officially an adult. So if you're in court, using the phrase "I'm just a kid" doesn't really cut it for you anymore. You're allowed to vote. You are allowed to own property, get a credit card, get a tattoo, serve on a jury, get married, gamble, enter contracts without parental consent, have the right to your own medical record. There's just so many lists of the legal benefits of turning 18. And it's more than just a checkpoint in the legal benefits. It's more, there's also symbolism of just, there's a you suddenly get freedom, and then independency, and then all this responsibility. And for some people, that sounds like a total nightmare for them, just having all these responsibilities and new expectations. For me, I've just waited my whole life for that. I'm so excited to get all this paperwork and shit to do, and everybody's scared of that. I'm just so excited for this. I get to do this on my own. And now that I'm gonna turn 18, my life kind of starts. And I want to make sure I have a good life. I don't want to live and have a boring life and die and just I wasted my life away, you know? And I do try to have a good life right now, but once you turn 18, you have more control over that. And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's episode. Living life to the fullest. How do you live life to the fullest? And I'm first going to start with I'm going to do some do's and some don'ts, but first I'm going to start with some don'ts. And here we go. So the first on the list of don'ts is feeding into consumerism, and basically purchasing just items it only gives you short-term serotonin. It doesn't give you long-term effects of happiness. And buying the most expensive products and buying the trendiest things and items and clothing and highest new innovations of technology and whatever, that doesn't give you happiness. That doesn't help you achieve happiness. And there's so many reasons why, but also there's this thing of planned obsolescence. And if you don't know what planned obsolescence is, it's this strategy that companies use, that they make their products to last a short amount of time, to be low quality, for you in the end to go back to their company and buy more. And it's just helping them in the long run. So that's what planned obsolescence is. It happens with our phones. It happens with, like, the most I know, like, refrigerators. I don't know why it was the first thing that came to my mind, but, like, refrigerators, they do not last at all. Just basically any form of technology. And brands come out with, like, new stuff every year that helps you, like, oh, I need to get the newest iPhone, I need to get the newest Apple Watch, or, like, whatever. And they feed in, like, to the new models of cars, and we end up, like, whatever we buy, we just end up throwing it all the way in the end. And that kind of, like, brings the question, can money buy you happiness? And I don't want to get too much into this because it could be, I'm going to talk about probably on, like, a new, just make it a solo episode, but it can, yes, to an extent. And I'm going to elaborate on this just real quick. You need money to have a home. You need money to, well, to achieve, like, happiness in a general sense. You need, like, basic necessities, and that's a shelter, food, and clothing. And we're not talking about luxury clothing. We're just talking about regular clothing that's, like, just livable in. And you need money for all three of those things. You need money to buy a house or live in an apartment. You need money to buy food from the grocery store. And you need money to buy clothing. All those basic necessities will give you a certain amount of happiness. Yes, sometimes, like, of course, having, like, I feel like it wouldn't, we don't like to think of it that way, but yes, maybe buying something that makes us feel good a little bit can feed in just a little bit into our overall happiness. Like, yes, maybe you do want some sort of cool device, like phone or whatever. Having the phone doesn't bring you happiness, but having just a little bit of, like, here and there, I think is not too bad. But having a private jet and the newest car and all this stuff, and it is not happiness. And this, like I said, for a whole nother episode, but basically the gist of this is that items do not fulfill your life, experiences do. So fill your life not with products, but experiences that you have with people, and then, like, go on adventures and all that stuff. Because an item, they do not last, but memories do. And that's the whole thing with the money part. Another don't is sticking to the norm, or just sticking to the status quo. And it's basically, just as I said on my last episode, is playing follow the leader. Playing follow the leader is not always a fun game as it seems to be. Because when you feed into, like, if you only follow the trends of everything that's going on, you have to have the latest whatever phone, like I said, and then I have to have this because everybody else has this, or I have to have that because everybody else has it, and just sticking to the micro trends. And, like, first of all, it just eliminates individuality. Like, I feel like individuality has just become a rarity at this point. Because today, what was it? I was running errands again. I was at the mall. I was just grabbing a bite to eat because I was starving. And so I'm just sitting down, and I like to people watch. And I'm not, like, saying that as in a weird way, but if you understand what I'm trying to say, just sit there and admire people, just like basic stranger walking by. That's what I like to do. And I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, there's no individuality anymore. And I don't know if it's maybe because it's where I'm from, or, like, any other thing about that, but you just don't see people, like, expressing themselves. They all, is it active, like, we're all clones. We build clones that way. If you feed into doing all the trends all the time, you just build clones. Like, it's as if, like, if you ever seen Star Wars and just, yes, I'm a Star Wars nerd, and just leave me alone for it. I love Star Wars. But anyways, like, it's as if, like, those, like, stormtroopers just, like, it was all of us. Like, there's nothing new, there's nothing innovative, there's nothing, like, it's all the same. And that just, like, doesn't, like, I feel like just scares me. I don't know if it scares anybody else that way, but just also, like, living to, like, other people's expectations. I think as I was doing research for the show, I noticed that older people took this survey, and it was like one of their biggest regrets, and one of them on the list was living to other people's expectations and being afraid of what people said or thought about them. And because in the end they realized, like, it didn't matter. They didn't matter what they thought, they didn't matter what they said. It was more important on what themselves thought about themselves and how they acted, and other people's opinions didn't matter to them in the end. But we worry about this so much in our youth. And I feel like we should not be afraid and not care what people say, because, I mean, people use this, like, phrase all the time, like, are they gonna care? You may care now. Like, that person, whoever it maybe is judging you, they're not gonna matter. You're not gonna know them in 5 or 10 years. They're gonna worry about their own life. So don't worry about what they're thinking about now. And also, like, at the same time, if you're, like, sometimes you do have social anxiety. I do have social anxiety, but at the same time, most people are just worried about themselves. I'm like, oh, they're not thinking about others. They're just worried about what they look like or what they're doing. First of all, you shouldn't be thinking about that. Like, do whatever you do most is comfortable for you. But, like, at the same time, no one's, like, really thinking about you that much that the way you think you are. So just, like, go with the flow. Do whatever you want. And it is so much easier to say, just don't care about what people think. Because you will care. You will care to an extent. The point is that you can't let it get to you. Because once you let it get to you, you confine yourself and you trap yourself in this box. And you allow people to just, like, hurt you in that way. And we shouldn't be doing that. Do whatever you want. Express yourself the way you want. Dress the way you want. Behave the way you want. But, you know, just do whatever you want. It's your life. No one else has that title or that control over you. Do whatever you want. The third I want to talk about is suburban life. And I don't know about you all, but at least, like, today, the idea of living a suburban life is dying. And personally, I do not want to live a suburban lifestyle. And if you don't know what I'm calling it, the suburban lifestyle, I don't know if there's an actual specific name for it, but basically what it is you grow up, you go to high school, you end up, whoever you are, you end up dating the cheerleader or dating the quarterback, and then you graduate, and then you go to college, you go to college for like 4 years for your bachelor's, and then you end up getting married, and you work a 9-to-5 job, and you end up having like 1 or 2 kids, and then you live in like the suburban like neighborhood and like, you know, family house, and you take your kids to soccer practice, and you spend time with the other parents, and you know you just absolutely don't like them, and you get stuck in your marriage. You're always like having fights, and you're just stuck in a marriage that you don't want to be in anymore. And then you work until you're 65 or 70 years old, and then you get like so old that you can't work anymore, so you have to be put in a retirement home, and then you die. That, I don't want to do that. And what's scary is that we've been doing this for years and years, for like generation after generation. We've been living the same lifestyle, and I don't want to do that. It's as if we're like living like robots, and I really don't want to. And like, if you want this lifestyle, go ahead. Some people want it and find like comfort in it. I personally don't judge. It's just that I just don't want this lifestyle for my own life. If you want the simple life, go ahead. If you want to live on the edge, also go ahead. If you live the way that you want to do it. If you want to go pursue a career, if you want to like do something like so extreme, if you want to write a book or fall in love multiple times and get your heart broken every once in a while, then I don't know, write a book about that and write autobiography and like make movies or like whatever you want, or like jump out of a helicopter and do it. I don't know, go ahead and like if you want to reinvent yourself over and over again, go do that. Do whatever you want, like that's gonna make you happy, not do the same thing that everybody else has been doing for years and years and years, and there's no like actual living in that. You're just more of existing, you know? There's no living, you're just existing. And so build the life that you want to do. Do like plan like, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to make an impact? Do I want to help people? Do I want to do something extraordinary? What kind of legacy do you want to live at the end of your life? You need to ask that question. What kind of legacy do I want to live and leave after I die? Now on to the do's. And the first one, I've talked about this in like in a past episode, and I think it was in like romanticizing life one. Go listen to that one if you haven't listened to that one. But taking risks, and this is the analogy I'm going to use. Look at your life as a book. This is your autobiography from when you were born to until you pass away. Look at your life as a book. No one wants to read a boring book. And so what I've always and continue saying is do it for the plot. And you probably heard of this, but do whatever you like. If you get like a spontaneous thought, go do it. It adds like some sort of like interesting thing to your life. And do things like, don't regret the things you didn't end up doing. So like, what risks should you be doing? For example, try new things, try probably a new restaurant, go on a road trip you haven't done. Just do like something spontaneous. Go get to know people, talk to the cute guy at your coffee shop, or like ask someone out that you thought was cute, and then maybe go run a marathon and pick up your things, leave your hometown, and leave everybody you know behind, and travel and go to your dream city and start living your life there. Or like if you want to reinvent yourself over again and over again, and if that risk probably like didn't end up in your favor, you now know that path wasn't for you, so you can take another path and take that risk again. Do whatever you want. Because at the end, like, once you like reach the end of your life, you can look at your life back on like as if it was a book and like, wow, I had a good life. You know? That's what you need to learn. But like just the overall thing, just take risks. Because it's either going to benefit you or just teach you a lesson. And they're both positive things. So just take risk and do it for the plot. Another do is surround yourself with positive energies. And that energies can be in many different forms. It can be people, it can be environments, it can be hobbies, it can be thoughts and ideas. Just surround yourself that makes you feel good in the end after you're like in that environment. Afterwards, you feel good about yourself and during that interaction. Because being surrounded by negative energies drain you, and then you feel tired and you like don't know why you feel tired, and it's probably because of the people you're hanging out or the environment you're in, or like the thoughts and ideas that were circulating around you. Don't be afraid to leave environments that aren't leaving you happy. And it's such a like, it's one of those things that people think it's like, oh, it's so easier to say it than actually do it. If you're not happy in an environment, if you're like, or with a person you're with, leave. And I feel like I stress it so much that I talk to everybody about it, that if you're not like happy in a situation, if the only obstacle that's in your way for positive, like to lead you to positive energies, is yourself. You can pick up and leave whenever you want, to whoever you want, and to whatever situation you're in. And people are just like, oh, people are scared to be rude, and like, oh, but like that's kind of like, but I'm like friends with them, and like, well, there's always like excuses. Like the first one would be, oh, I'm friends with them. Like, first of all, they treated you horribly. That's not what friends are doing. And second of all, like, oh, but if I leave and just like ditch them, like, oh, it's gonna be rude. First of all, they probably, in like making up a situation here, like, they probably talked behind your back and they talked negatively about you and they never end up helping you and they always talk about themselves all the time and like, whatever. Don't you think that's also rude of them as well? Like, why do you have to stay? If no one's like if you're being disrespected by someone, leave. You can pick up your shit, pack up your bags, head out the door. That's how it can work. And like, it's just one of those things that just like, it's so much easier if you just like do it than just stress about it. Cause remember this, like, no one is ever gonna make you stay. No one can make you stay. And no one can the only person that makes you stay is yourself. You don't have to, you can leave and pick up with your friends, and you can leave with your parents, you can leave with your coworkers. If you're not happy in any situation you're in, you can pick up and leave because it's going to be better for you in the end. Staying in a situation that you're constantly being drained and constantly being just like in a negative like mindset, it's never going to help you. You're going to just be sticking in the same cycle and like, why am I always sad? Why am I always this? Why am I always that? Once you notice where you're at and who you're with and how they impact you, you'll know if you either stay or you leave. And no one is ever going to make you stay. The only person that makes you stay is yourself. And that's something you should always remember. And the last one of the do's is like a combination of two. Is travel and enlighten yourself. And one of the most common regrets of people, like of older people, once they live their life and like gone through shit, one of their like deepest regrets is not traveling enough, or just not traveling at all. And I know sometimes money can be an obstacle, but traveling can take on so many forms than just like packing a luggage or like getting on a plane and just traveling across the country. It can be more. Traveling can be that. And if you want to do that, go ahead. But if you don't have the money for it and you don't have like the resources for it, traveling can take on different forms. It can be maybe just like doing a road trip. And also remembering that it might sound weird at first, but give me a sec. Knowledge is power. Knowing is power. Knowledge is power. If you don't have enough money to, let's say, pick up your bags and travel to Asia and enlightening yourself and like learning about cultures there, maybe you can do it in your home state or like wherever you're at. Maybe take a road trip to a town you haven't gone there, or maybe stay a night. And it might not be like hundreds and thousands of dollars. Maybe it might just be like $200 there, wherever you're at, depending on where you live, and the prices vary everywhere. And if you can't pick up and travel across the country, pick a town you haven't traveled before, stay in a hotel, learn about what the locals, like, oh, what's a good place to eat here, and like, what's the most interesting, what do you do on the weekends for fun, instead of searching up on Google things to do in this location. Because what I've noticed, the most hyped up place that shouldn't be hyped up are the things that Google like suggests for you. But if you ask like locals, hey, where do you go on like to dinner on like a Friday night? Or like, what's a good club you can go to? Not that I've ever been to a club, but I've always wanted to go to a club, and that's why I'm excited when when I'm older. But like, oh, like what do you do like on a Sunday morning? Like, where do you go get breakfast? And like, what's a good like activity to do that's calming? Like, what's your favorite park? Or like, what's your favorite coffee shop? Like, what's your, like, just asking locals that you know that are probably just walking on the street, like, hey, what do you like to do? And you probably are gonna hate it, you're probably gonna love it, and just remember it for like as a good memory. And just like that isn't I feel like is a way of enlightening yourself. Even if you can't travel to Asia or Africa or like another country or continent. Yeah. Sorry, it's been a long time I've gone back to school. I'm forgetting my stuff. But just like travel can take on many forms, and traveling helps you be enlightened. And just, for example, traveling, if you don't want to go to a new like town, maybe you go to a state park or try a new restaurant or try something new. You know what? To end this episode, I challenge. Oh God, do you remember? Oh, like intrusive thought, but like, you guys remember when like everything became a challenge, or like the ice bucket challenge, and then like, what was it called? That Kylie Jenner lip challenge, or like something. Everything was a challenge to everything. Like, ugh, it annoyed me. But I challenge you to try something new, and it can be extreme. Maybe go to somewhere like you haven't gone before, if you want to go to that extreme length. If you want to try a new restaurant, if you want to try new food, if you want to try a new coffee shop, if you want to listen to some new music, if you want to learn how to play a new instrument, maybe you watch even a new show or listen to a new podcast or continue watching this one hopefully. But maybe if you want to do something simple, maybe just take a different route to work. If you work or like go to school, if you drive, maybe just take a different route. Maybe take the long way. Maybe take a little shortcut. Maybe take the back roads if you're like near an area. I love taking the back roads and just like blasting music all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do driving back from work. Just do anything that is something new, and it just gonna make you like, oh, I did something today. You know, you might have like, you don't have to be like all this productive thing to like feel good about it. It can be something small. Maybe watch that show or do that new route to work. Whatever you do stuff in your life that's going to make you feel like you did live life to the fullest. And that's today's episode. I hope you guys have a good one. And be back for next week's episode. I'm really excited for next week's episode. I'm going to dig deep into a incoming season for back to school. So stay tuned for that one, and bye.